Up and running, and Villa Park is loud.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and we are back, Kev. You said that backstage. We are back. The Premier League is back. And if anything hasn't got you buzzing for the Premier League, it should be that intro. I mean, that should get us all pumped up, shouldn't it?
Well, it should get us all pumped up, though. I saw a little bit of Buendia celebrating. It made me feel a bit sad.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
I know it's a late one, guys. We've been trying to squeeze this in with work. I was on the Loaded Mag podcast with some Newcastle lads just now, and it's a big weekend for me. Obviously, as you know, I live in Newcastle, so I'm out tomorrow. I'm out Saturday. I'm at the match, so we needed to squeeze in somewhere. So we thought we keep you night owls happy and do a late one. But Kev, how are you feeling for this start of the season?
Buzzing, mate. Cannot wait to get going. The anticipation for this season has been, well, it's just been stronger, hasn't it? And way more exciting than I think any season, probably since the days of Martin O'Neill, when we were going in, to thinking we could maybe knock on the top four. So I cannot wait to get started. And what a test to go away at St. James's.
Yeah, what a match. I mean, we'll get into it all. Starting lineups, players to watch out for, who we think is going to feature for Villa. And we'll get your comments in as well. We'll get predictions in. It's a massive game. And you'll see when we talk about each team's players, we are very, very evenly matched as two sides, and definitely two sides that are going to be up there competing at the end of the season. Before we get into it, I've got comments flying in already. We have had some phenomenal growth over the last couple of days, Kev, and it's thanks to the people that are supporting us. We've gone beyond 2,200. I think we're at like 2,260 or something. We're nearly at 2,300 already. I know you were blown away by the response to our video with Tom Colomassi. If anyone hasn't seen that, please do check it out. I think it's getting above 4,000 views, which is just fantastic. But guys, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button and help us on the road to 3K. I was on with the Loaded Mag boys. They've just hit 6K on the show tonight when we were on. So, yeah, to kind of keep growing and growing and growing is what we want to do. So you guys can really help us do that. And at the top of the chat, there is the link to our fantasy football, our fantasy Premier League, Villa Park Pod League. We've got nearly 200 in there at the moment. So do click the link and it'll join you in automatically. Get your FPL team in. You've got until tomorrow. I think it's 6:30. And you'll be in with a chance. The winner of the league will win £75 voucher to spend on any Aston Villa gear that they want. So you got to be in it to win it. So get yourselves in that draw. Comments flying in. Gaza in the house. Evening, Gaza. Thank you for joining us, mate. Duncan, I'll come to your comment in a second. And same for you, Gaza. Adam in the house. Evening, up the Villa. Loads of, and Dunk says we'll be at 5K easy by Christmas.
Come on.
So, brilliant, mate. Thank you so much. So, look, comments coming in straight away, Kev. Emi Buendia, I mean, Dunk says their horror story on Buendia. Let's go this season. Gaza, everybody's season, the big player gets injured right at the start. I mean, what can we say? In training as well, like, how unlucky can you get?
Yeah, I know. It's a real shame because, look, let's be honest, right? He's still a player that, even on our pod, we talk about, he's either great, isn't he, or he's not so great. He can go missing in games. But I do think, and this might be sort of slightly bit of recency bias, but I do feel like pre-season it was as good as I've ever seen him. And, and I think he obviously got some goals, assists. I thought he was great in the Newcastle game. And it just looked like, I mean, even that finish he did obviously against Lazio, the link up with Coutinho, it just looked like he'd added a bit to his game, a bit more confidence, a bit stronger, and a bit more end product. So I think he would have been a key player for us this season. I don't think he would have been one of the first names in the team sheet, but a big part of our squad. I think this season was the season we hoped he could have kicked on to probably 10 goals. What did he get, like 5 or 6 last year? You should be looking at 10 goals, 10 assists type player. So it is a big loss for us. I know some Villa fans won't think it's a massive loss, and some will be absolutely devastated. But awful for the lad, because he'd got himself in probably the best physical shape of his career. He's in his mid-20s. By all accounts, looking at some of the reports, there's rumours it maybe not season ending. It might be sort of 6-7 months. So you've just got to hope, haven't you? That, I mean, in this day and age, it's very unlikely that an injury like this does end your career. I mean, look at this day.
It won't end his career. It won't, mate. And you bang on, like they say, these prognosis is 6 to 8 months. The factor in that, like when he can get running, how he can get, like, can he get kicking a ball and stuff, like, Diego Carlos came back from his, horrific injury, and he featured at parts end of last season. You'd think that Emi Buendia is, a strong lad as well, and he can, hopefully, if the operation goes well in the week, hopefully he can kind of maybe even get back quicker than that. You just never know.
I saw a great thing on Twitter where someone said, just can't wait for him to come back and score the winner in the Conference League final. And wouldn't that be great?
That'd be brilliant.
Just see his little face light up, So, look, we'll wish him a massive good luck in the operation, speedy recovery. But we've got to go now, haven't we, Villa? We've got to replace him, and we've got to can't let this derail our positivity, which I don't think it will.
Yeah, well, Villa Samba Brazil said, gutted for Emi, Ramsey and Moreno, but hope they shine later in the season. Great content as ever. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. And that's the thing, like, we've got Jacob Ramsey injured. We've got Alex Moreno injured. I think like Leander Dendonker's injured. Irud Bonham's injured. Bertrand Traore's injured. These are some players that are, big players for us, and it shows the improvement in the squad when we've still got good players, good quality players to kind of come in and still have those quality players on the bench as well. And it shows the work that Emery's done and the quality that we've got in the squad.
It really does, and let's be clear, like. Fingers crossed the returns, the recovery is decent, because they think Moreno might be back in September. Mm-hmm. Ramsey was, 10 weeks from what was that, start of July? So you're looking at July, August. So they might be back September, October, which is still fairly early in the season. And the other thing now, with all the games we've got and also having a bigger squad, that there probably would have been times when Ramsey wouldn't have started all the games anyway and Moreno wouldn't have started all the games. Because if you look at our options now, if Digne plays left back, Digne's still here, Digne's still effective. And if Cash is playing the right back role, then Moreno was massive for us and is a big miss. But I do think we've got the personnel now to deal with a few injuries, like all big teams should have to do. Then Donker and the other injuries like that, well, I don't think they've been really key players around the team too much. It's not a massive miss. Obviously weakens your squad depth a little bit, but it's not like a situation as it would be if it was a Martinez or a Watkins, or I'd even say McGinn now, that level of injury. And it's not like it was back in the day when we really were, bare bones in terms of replacements. So I'm not, the main one is Buendia. That's the lengthy injury. The rest of them should be back, hopefully, when might still be a bit of sunshine around, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It might be that they step into some light training in the next week or so. We'll have to wait and see. A few comments coming in. Gaza said he was firing pre-season. Adam says, big shame. He was looking in better shape too. Ian says, devastated for Buendia. This was his chance to push on. That being said, I thought his place was most under pressure with the probable new signings coming in later in the window. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I think it was one of those where those inconsistent players, the Emi Buendias, the Leon Baileys, possibly even a Moussa Diaby, I'm sure will have those quieter games. Philippe Coutinho as well. Is where you can rotate them. And if you're losing one of those players, you're losing an option to kind of spur another player on, or have the firepower off the bench. So that's I think where it's going to hurt us a little bit.
Yeah, you also want competition for places, don't you?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You've got a situation which we've had in the past at Villa where players knew they weren't going to get dropped because there was no one better to come in. You want them keeping. You could tell in pre-season there was a sense of hunger because I think they all knew. I mean, we said many times, you bring in on substitutes in the game, you bring on 4 or 5 subs, and the team isn't weaker, and that means you've got to be on your game, and that's what makes it a good quality football team when you know there's competition for places.
Yeah. Ian said, if I was asked, will his injury affect our final league position or cup success, I would have to say no. And I think that's key. You know, we'll talk about potential players that will step in and even 1 or 2 that will come in. But, you know, like I say, the quality and the way that the players are coached now, I don't think we'll feel that loss as much as maybe before when we've lost players. Dico Blanco in the house, gutted for Buendia, awful looking. He was looking determined in pre-season. Hopefully it's not as bad as we're thinking. 100%. Dunk says left wing now our problem position, but we do have cover. Let's just let me just ask a question. Oh, Deco said great point, Rich. Cheers, mate. I had to read that one out. So Gaza said maybe Coutinho will start playing like he once did. Now we'll talk about a potential signing that's coming in, but a player that cliche alert might feel like a new signing is Philip Coutinho, and he has looked sharp in pre-season, Kev. Do you think it's time for the little Brazilian to shine?
Well, I think at the moment, any thoughts of Coutinho leaving, I think have to be banished now, because I'll be really surprised if he leaves with obviously him and Buendia, effectively being similar type players. And I also think if you look at the other rumoured outgoings, Aaron Ramsey wasn't really getting much of a look in the squad, really. The fact that Ramsey, that's clearly been on the cards for a bit. The fact that Arch has been obviously clearly interested to other clubs. They must have had other options due to come in anyway. And obviously, there's been no surprise. Some of the players we've been linked with, I'm sure we'll talk about them later, but, there's been some wide players, obviously the likes of Adoku still, even after we got DRB, other attacking players that, they're not going away, are they? So
No,
yeah,
exactly. And it could be a time where Coutinho does really shine, because he has looked really good in pre-season, and we've talked about it a lot in those European games. If we are to get further forward, we are going to need those players that will unlock defenses and can produce that little bit or do something from a set piece. And again, in those big games against the Man Cities and the Arsenals and stuff, he's usually come to life in those games as well, and that's where we could maybe utilize him as well. So, fingers crossed then Philip Coutinho can do it. Gary says Coutinho would be better at home, he believes. We've got Geordie Villan in the house. Evening, Geordie Villan, and Rachel as well in the house. Evening, Rachel. Great to have you on board. So, one player who we have looked like we are utilising, and I think he's a player who is familiar to Monchi. Now, whether this was something that was done, that was in the offing before, we obviously heard rumours of this player a couple of months ago, when the window first opened. Maybe it's been accelerated further with the Buendia issue, and I think Fabrizio Romano confirmed that himself. But it's Nicolo Zaniolo. I can't say I've known too much about him previously. Looks like quite a tall player. Can play forward on the left, attacking midfield, and he can play striker. Was all the rage a few years ago at Roma, and then had a bad injury and has had 2 ACLs. I think Gary said,
yes, yeah.
And he's only 24, so it's a bit of a risk. Is this a calculated risk? It looks like it's a loan with an obligation to buy if everything goes well. What are your thoughts on this guy?
Well, I've looked into him a little bit since we've been linked, and I looked the first time around, looked a bit today. Certainly looks like a really talented player. Pace, good height as well, which is something we lack a little bit in our forward positions. Skillful, certainly seems to have quite a few tricks. Has had a couple of bad injuries, but I think the last one of those was probably 3 years ago now. So, I find there's a risk, people saying, playing in Turkey, and why is he in Turkey? But if you come back from injuries like that sometimes, then maybe you're not getting straight back into that team. And a lot of good players play. The Turkish Super League's had some fantastic players playing for him. I mean, look, Wilf Zaha's just gone there at the peak of his powers, isn't he? So, and looks like Oxlade Chamberlain's going to go there. Admittedly, maybe not the peak of his powers, but you get my point. So, but I think everyone's a risk. I think if you brought in a Nonto or a Brennan Johnson, it'd be a risk. There'd be a huge price tag on.
Brennan Johnson would be a massive risk. 40-50 million, and
and he doesn't work out. If you get him on a loan with an option to buy, not necessarily an obligation to buy, he's got experience.
Option,
Played for Italy. Played for a big club in Roma. So I don't know. I mean, I think that it's not easy to find these kind of players that are available. So I say go for it.
Yeah, we'll have a quick look at his stats. I know I did this on my quick transfer talk show earlier today when the rumours were abound, and then it kind of got confirmed. And I've compared him with Buendia. But if we look here, he can play on the right side. He can play striker. He can play attacking midfield. So say 24 years old, but preferred foot is left, so maybe likes to cut in. The heat map from his time in Serie A last season, so played 13 matches, started 12, but only scored 1 goal. So I think that was a bit of a tough time for him in the Serie A, and then he went into the Turkish league on loan with Galatasaray, and played 10 games. Only started 2, so predominantly came off the bench, but did score 5 goals in those 10 games. So knows where the goal is, all with his left foot. And he missed a few good chances as well, so could have been even better. Missed 3 big chances, so could have been even better. And like you say, Kev, maybe likes to dribble, and he's quite big, can win stuff in the air as well. And maybe he's got that bit of ruthlessness with a shot as well, and can, like that conversion rate's not bad at all. But looking at him compared to a Buendia, obviously Buendia outdoes him in a lot of the statistics, but we talk about a player who I don't think played too regularly last season and was coming back to some sort of fitness. So maybe it's difficult to compare, but I think probably Monchi knows he's a good player, and Emery thinks he can get something out of him into our system. So
I think there's a lot of positivity there, mate. Also because he's only just turned 24, and there's plenty of players that have had bad injuries and come back and been really great. Some top players have done it, So he's only 24. He's won the Turkish Super League. You might say it's a bit of a procession for Galatasaray. He's also won the Conference League, and he scored the winner in the final for Roma. So he's got experience. He's got experience in that league. So it's another person who's got.
Was that when Mourinho won it?
I think it was. It was like 2 or 3 years back. So it might have been.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Mourinho about a year back. So
yeah.
I mean, potentially, yeah. But look, either way, for me, I think it's a calculated risk. It's
exactly. I guess the thing with loan players is you might get the Ross Barkley syndrome where, I guess he was a season-long loan, whereas this one is an option to buy him. So there is a kind of motivation to do well, to kind of get that move to Villa. So I think that adds some extra motivation. But yeah, you don't want a situation where he plays well the first few weeks because he wants to impress, and then the chips are down a little bit and he starts to drop off, and then you've got a player who doesn't really want to be at the club because he knows he's not going to get a move, and that's where those loans can be a bit, turn a bit sour.
Yeah, it was actually when Marino. It was 2022 he did it. So Tammy Abraham was in the team as well. So yeah, maybe Tammy's put in a good word.
Yeah, maybe he did. He did. So Ian said, I think we need him to shine in the next few weeks. After that, the new signings will have integrated. I think that's more to do with Coutinho there. Adam says Zaniolo has some hype, but those injuries and him being in the Turkish league is a risk. Dico Blanco said we'll have 4 to 5 players with 1 to 2 working legs between them. Dunk said being linked all summer, a good player. Gary said got to be alone with his injury record. Adamski said, come to Villa, Zaniolo, your knees will be safe with us. I don't know about that. Yeah. Luke said it's an option, not an obligation to buy. And I think it's 30 million euros, isn't it? It's peanuts and goes a long way in Turkey. Yeah. And then Sarko says Zaniolo was the first name on the Italy team sheet heading into Euro 2020 before he got those terrible knee injuries. He's a special talent, but needs to get his career back on track. So there we go. Duncan said Chiesa for 60 million euros is a risk as well. Yeah, absolutely. Any player is you risking.
Well,
Deco says.
Richard, just to say quickly, you look at the chat we've had previously about Man United's wingers, Anthony's and Sancho, 75, 80 million, and you get someone who's on a loan deal, no transfer fee. I mean, it might be another masterstroke. If it doesn't work out, let's ask Villa fans, would you rather have Anthony from Man United who cost 80 million? Would you rather have Zaniolo? Well, I know I'd rather have Bailey than Anthony. That's volumes. So,
hey, we got someone you'd rather have.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's unbelievable. But you know what I mean? Like these positions, particularly as attacking players, Buendia was 30-odd million and has been a bit hit and miss. Coutinho came into great fanfare and has been largely disappointing in the last 12 months. So, yeah, I don't think you've got any guarantees. Pick a player, even Jeremy Doku we were linked with, but apparently everyone was saying he's had really bad injuries.
Yeah, he has.
So there's always going to be some kind of risk, isn't there?
Definitely. Deco said that I think that mad bird from Misery is on our medical team. Luke said that Emery could make a Shire horse play at number 10 and get us to Europe.
Exactly, Luke. Exactly.
Gary said, at least with English Prem players would be used to our league and maybe less likely to get ACLs. Luke said, that's why I like Nonto. He's strong and young, so bags of potential. We've been linked with him, but I think maybe Everton have stolen a march there. Deco said, I'm sorry, but Zaniolo doesn't excite me, but in Emery I trust. Gary said at 6'3", he will be a monster munchy signing. Try saying that after a few. Ahmed said he's a unit. I think he'll be useful. Rachel said, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Someone can injure their ACL at any time. All transfers are risky and injuries can happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Richo's in the house, Everton fan. You could tell us about Nonto, actually, Richo. I think he might be heading to you guys. That's fine. We'll come to the Europa Conference League in a bit, Geordie. We'll talk about that at the end. Ahmed said, I think we should wait it out for Felix. Well, according to Tom, we potentially are waiting it out for Felix, so we'll see there. Mark said, I'd rather have Bailey. Words we never thought we'd hear, Kev.
Yeah, it was only over Anthony. That's about it. I'd rather have the lady from Misery than Anthony.
But yeah, we'll come to some questions and stuff. I am starring some comments and stuff, so we will come to that in a bit. But we do need to go to what is the big kickoff on Saturday, St James's Park, 5:30 kickoff. Newcastle United against Aston Villa. Is it a battle for the top 4 on the first game of the season?
You know what I thought you were going to say then? Is it a must win? Unai out if we don't win this. Unai out. Steve Bruce is available, isn't he? McLeish's still out of work, isn't he, as well? So, I think you set a marker, don't you? Quite clearly. If you win away at a team of the likes of Newcastle, obviously a top 4 qualifying team, Champions League team, then you set a marker. And I don't think if Villa won, it would be like a lucky win. I mean, anyone can beat anyone, can't they, on a given day? Every season one of the big teams will lose. But I'm sure Burnley or Sheffield United or teams like that will get a win against one of the big teams. But if we did it and we did it with decent football, then it would be absolutely class. These are the kind of games that are going to define our season, because I do think we'll pick up a lot of points this season from teams that we should beat. We've got better and better Villa at beating teams we should beat. It's these key games against the big teams that traditionally, pre-Emery, we didn't used to do great in. But I think Emery will have them right up for this. And clearly as well, I mean, Eddie Howe's no mug. He's done a super job there, and I think clearly they'll be right up for it as well. So what I like about it is there's 2 teams that aren't the traditional in recent times top 6. 2 teams that aren't really featured on many pundits' top 4 predictions, and 2 teams I think have got a real opportunity of gate crashing it. Newcastle obviously did it last season, and what a phenomenal job. but they're going to want to be amongst it again. And yeah, I predicted Villa to finish fourth. We've got Thursday nights in the arse end of Europe. They've got Wednesday and Tuesday nights in the arse end of Europe. So I just want to. I mean, Newcastle. I'm not one of those Villa fans that has any animosity to Newcastle. Fond memories of watching them in the Premier League. I know there's been a bit of banter between the two clubs, but it's just good to see a really good ding-dong game. Both teams playing their part, but us coming away with the 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, our record isn't great at St James's Park, much as their record isn't great at Villa Park. And last season, obviously, we got a spanking 4-0 when Emery had been confirmed that he'd taken over, but he wasn't officially in the dugout. But I think the thing about Newcastle is that momentum. Like when they get going, they're just so hard to stop, and that's the thing that I'm wary of with Villa, but with the game on Saturday. But yeah, 100% what you say, Kev. We've got players now that can hurt teams. We've got a system that is solid, and Newcastle won't want to play against us in the form that we're in. Yeah.
They would have seen, obviously, in recent times, just what Villa are all about in that burst of great football at the start of that pre-season game. When I do think if that had been a proper game, it probably clearly wouldn't have played out like it did. But some of the football we played in the first 15-20 minutes was absolutely brilliant. Their biggest, most chastening defeat of the season, big word for me to use at 11:15 on a Thursday night, was at Villa Park. It was, and it could and should have been more goals than three. Three was made them look better than they were on that day. So they know we're a good team now. They know we're difficult to beat, and they know we've got some attacking problems. But we know, because it was only a few months before they battered us 4-0. So yeah, I think it'll be a good game, hopefully.
Yeah, 100%. Deco said, let's pluck the Magpies. Adam said, a bit worried. Newcastle away will be tough. Gary said, Geordie podcast saying it will be tight. Not like them to be so diplomatic about us.
They respect us.
Yeah. Gary said they will win for Emmy. Luke, I'll come back to your comment. Adam said, I think we need to keep it tight. If it's a goal fest, they'll win. Gary again says Toon should be rooting for each other to break up that hated top six. Deco said they are all about pressing, need technically gifted players to beat it again. Buendia would have been great, but Coutinho can fill in. Lee says going to be a great game this. Roderick said, I'm not worried if it's for Newcastle to worry. If we win, they'll be very concerned. Anything we get our standing already high will just rise. Great comment there. Geordie Villain said, Toon's team isn't settled yet. I'd imagine they'd have rather play us once their players have gelled a bit. And Luke said, what gives me faith for Saturday's Unai is just a tactical don. That was 3-0 was filthy. Literally one of the best performances ever. And then Rachel said, I don't like any of the Toon fans who have celebrated Buendia's injury. It's a minority, but it's not called for. Absolutely. And I just really random reviews in the house. Good evening, mate. Sarko said they lost just 2 out of 19 last year at home. Deco said even non-Villa Geordie fans are buzzing for it. This is where everyone's seasons begin. Liverpool, Chelsea will be dry. Yeah, that's the thing. Like with both clubs that are gunning for those teams. Now, I did want to touch on Newcastle's players first because they seem to be doing it. If there's a right way, alongside Villa, they seem to be signing players the right way, like not going crazy, not signing too many players. They've obviously added Tonali, Harvey Barnes, and Livramento to the squad this year so far. What do you make of those signings that have added to their squad?
Well, I don't think they've. I don't know whether this is an FFP thing for them. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of their recent transfer dealings in terms of how it's affected them financially, but they bought Botman for 60-odd million. Isak was 60-odd million. I think Gamirish cost them a bit. So they've spent a fair bit of cash, haven't they? There was even that flurry in January when they bought, Target, Burn, etc., etc. And maybe they're just feeling the pinch a little bit, which is why they're probably not gone as crazy as a lot of people thought they would, obviously with the Saudi PIF fund behind them. Tonali's a good player. Quality player. I mean, I think he got found out a little bit by our little Argentinian magician, Mr. Buendia, didn't he, in that game? Got bodied by Buendia, but, I don't sort of take too much notice of that. I think he's a quality player, big player for Italy. Livramento obviously had a bad injury as well. So there's another one, who's come back from a bad one. And before the injury was looking like an absolute top prospect. So I think that's probably a good signing for them. Yeah, but I don't know. I thought they might have added a bit more. I thought, but maybe they can't. I don't know. Maybe they still will.
Yeah, I think they're probably in for one or two players. But yeah, I do think they have to be careful of the FFP. Like, they don't have the youth products that we have that we're able to sell to generate that pure profit. They haven't been able to. They haven't been as advanced with that. Like, their academy has been really suffering for a lot of years. So that's the situation with them. But we obviously would have liked Harvey Barnes. We said it ourselves on the podcast. He would have been a player that we'd have gone for. But I think Moussa Diaby is a great signing. And again, talking to a lot of Newcastle fans, they were really interested in having him as well. So, we always seem to be linked to the same type of players, don't we? Because we're kind of at that similar level. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. I guess apart from those new signings, who in that Newcastle team, kind of worries you if you were worried by anyone?
I think for me, it's Alexander Isak and it's Bruno Guimaraes. I think those two are the real quality players. Isak on his day is frighteningly good. I mean, there was that assist he did last season, wasn't it? We ended up being an own goal in the end, but that unbelievable against, like, just dancing feet, and still a young lad, but I think he's got real quality. I think he'll go potentially right to the very top. Looks like a quality player. And Guimaraes has been a revelation, really, hasn't he? Let's be clear. Like, he's been absolutely fantastic for them. I think those are the two. They've had players that probably wouldn't have expected to perform like they did. Now, you could argue the same about Villa, couldn't you? Because a lot of our top players last season, as we said, didn't even start our first game of the season against Bournemouth. But I mean, players like Joe Linton, who's been absolutely, rejuvenated as a midfielder when he came in as a striker. Yeah. Didn't really do anything. You've got players obviously like Almiron, who was derided. We had our very own Jack Grealish taking the mickey out of him, getting caught on camera saying it after he won the title with City. And Almiron was absolutely, the tables would turn when he scored loads of goals, more than Grealish had by Christmas. So they've got some players that can hurt you. Trippier's no mug. You don't want to be giving any free kicks away, 20, 25 yards out. But on the same token, I look at their team and I look at our team and I think we got a banging chance against them. Yeah, and Anderson's look pretty good.
Yeah, Elliot Anderson. Yeah, good young player. It would have been nice to see Jacob Ramsey versus Elliot Anderson, wouldn't it? But it's one of those. But yeah, it was funny, like, looking at the two teams, or what potentially were going to be the 2-11s, and last season there might have been, Newcastle in great form. There was probably players that more players that you'd put in from a Newcastle perspective, but honestly, like, this season, it's. And I don't want to tempt fate here, but they were kind of still not Mings fans, and now it's like Mings and Konsa versus Botman and Shah. It's like, there's no difference there, is there? Like, Martinez v Pope, you'd have Martinez, wouldn't you? Like, the midfield, you've got Douglas Luiz, you've got Boubacar Kamara, you've got maybe Tielemans, you've got McGinn, like. Would you swap that? Would you swap Guimaraes, Joe Linton, and maybe Elliot Anderson or Tonali? Like, it's very, very, very similar, isn't it? And you've got Ollie Watkins up front. He gets criticised, but goals. There's maybe Isak is stronger player than him, but there's not much in any of the players that are on either side. It's going to be a tough game, like a really tight game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to do. I know Gabby did it on TalkSport, did his like Villa Man United combined 11, but it'd be interesting to do the Villa Newcastle one. It would be interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty
easy. That midfield we've got now, I've still got memories of like having, the likes of a Salafu and Isaiah Osborne, no offense to those players, players in, but Michael Bradley in, we've had obviously a Kareem Al Ahmadi, and players that really were just, either English journeymen or lower league players. To have the quality of midfield that we've got now, I think we're the envy of most of the Premier League with our midfield. When you add Jacob Ramsey to that mix as well, and even Buendia's forming, in recent times, there's a real potency there. I do think there's a weakness there in that 6 role. I think, again, if Kamara, who's had a bit of an injury record, gets injured, then You're having to convert a Douglas Luiz back there, or maybe a McGinn. So that's why Den Duncan's sticking around at the moment. It's obviously important. But midfield's such a strong area for us. It really is.
Yeah. Roderick said Dougie played Guimaraes off the park. He definitely didn't when we played them at home. Sharik says, have we really improved our first 11? Diaby is an upgrade on Bailey, we believe, but otherwise there's not much difference. If anything, it's weaker with no Ramsey, Moreno, Buendia. That's a fair comment.
I think there's potential further to the comment depending on how he sets up the team. I think Tielemans improves that team when he's in the team. The question is whether he starts. Diaby, I think, from what we know, it seems like an upgrade on Buendia, but I totally agree. Taking Moreno out with his form last season and Ramsey, they were probably our two best players with Watkins and McGinn of the last bit of the season.
Certainly travelling with the ball, Ramsey gives you so much, like in terms of that ability to turn defence into attack running with the ball. I think we're going to miss that. But we have got more passing lanes, we've got more passing movements that we can utilise. So I agree with that, Sharik, but it's what we've done is we've kind of expanded the players that aren't going to weaken the 11, if you know what I mean. We're going to have more kind of ability to bring players in that aren't going to be, such a downgrade on what we've got. So Emery isn't going to be more reluctant to make substitutions. Mark says Isak is exceptional. He's the one I'm most worried about, but also Joe Linton dominating that midfield physically. Rubbs says the same. Joe Linton is scary, good player. Jordy Villa said they Toon signed Anthony Gordon, who doesn't know the offside rules. Hope he plays. Luke says we need to be physical. That's the main reason we could even play our last game last time. Definitely. I think we need to pack that midfield. Definitely so. Really Random says, I think we're stronger. Yes, these players are still growing under Unai. We strengthened the squad to compete in the competitions. We're in good shape, bar Buendia. Gary said, we may lose this, but performance is what I'm looking for and how we utilise Torres and Diaby. Stephen Van Leer says, can't see Eddie taking Newcastle much further. They will want a bigger name in. Our scouting is now top class. Hopefully so. John, I'll come to Watkins in a bit because we've got some comments on him. Rachel said the biggest test for Howe is Europe. He's never faced it before. That will be the litmus test for him. Luke says Moreno is a miss, definitely. Geordie said the threat of JJ is a big miss too. Teams always have to be aware of his directness and pace. Yeah. It is really, isn't it, Kev? Like that's, like you said, toward the end of the season, scoring those goals as well. It was a real plus for us.
That left-hand side with Moreno and Ramsey was just brilliant. Rapid, really driving at people. I know Dina and Cash have done well pre-season, absolutely, and they're good, decent Premier League right, fullbacks. But I think Moreno gave us an extra level, didn't he, from an attacking perspective? And Ramsey's the closest thing we've had to Grealish, arguably the closest thing to Grealish in the Premier League in some senses of actual driving and running with the ball and effectively running with the ball. I mean, the goals he's brought to his game have been fantastic. Back end of the season was good, but even that one where, like when he assisted Watkins and when he just got there before the keeper, just driving forward. He got his goal, was it the year before when he took on the half of the Norwich team and smashed it in from his own half. I think he's unlike anything else we've got, Ramsey. So when he's on it, and he's only a young lad, he's a massive plus for us. So I think he's our biggest miss at the moment, injury-wise.
Yeah. Really Random says, I think we're going to get goals from defenders, wingers, Ollie in the midfield, Tielemans, etc. will chip in. I think we're strong for attack, but would like a Buendia cover and a striker. John thinks we have really upgraded our first 11. How can anyone say we haven't? Yeah, great. Fair comment. I think when the injuries come back, I think that will be, barring Buendia, I think that will be really where we've shown what a squad we've got. Rub said bench is important nowadays with the 5 changes, so improving the bench is improving the playing team. Kamara's an injury risk, says Dunk. Deco Blanco says JJ isn't too far away and sounds like Moreno might miss a few games, that's all. Brilliant. Oradika Football said a draw on Saturday will be a very decent result. John said Emery looking at squad rotation, we couldn't rotate much last season. Roderick said I'd play Philogene on the left to support Pau. Could be a shout. Diaby will get goals, says Duncan. Gary said we try and win every game now. So, yeah, but we'll take a draw. We'll come to score predictions in a minute, but I wanted to go through your starting 11, Kev, and talk through one or two potential options in there. So you guys get your comments in for what your starting 11 would be. Just a quick plug, we've got over 60 people watching, which at nearly 11 o'clock is just phenomenal. So thank you very much for tuning in before you just go to bed. But yeah, please hit the like button. If we can get everyone hitting that like button, it'd be fantastic. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are on the road to 3K. We're nearly at 2.5 already. So that'll be brilliant if you're new to the channel, if you can subscribe, that'll be fantastic. So, Kev, let's get your team up if you want to talk us through. This is the first Premier League team of the season for Aston Villa. How we lining up?
Mate, we're back. I can't believe it. I'm doing team lineup. It's fantastic. It was a real toss of the coin whether I did Cash or Buendia as the high fullback. So my thought process was if now obviously with Buendia's injury, I put Tielemans in. I think he'll play central. And whether he plays McGinn left, Diaby left, whether he plays one of them off the striker. But I thought that he may well play McGinn on the left, which I thought might offer a bit more support to Pau, basically, if Pau's playing that furthest left centre-back. And then for me, that team, a lot of it picks itself now. I think Mings and Konza are undroppable. Martinez clearly is as well. Kamara Louise, Watkins, McGinn. The questions obviously are everyone else. I think with Diaby's impact in pre-season, quite at times, but, picked up a couple of goals. I think he's certain to start. The question then is it Tielemans or is it Bailey that plays instead? Or, does Buendia come in and then he plays Konza right back and then shuffles the back line across? So they're the questions for me, but that's my lineup, mate. What do you think?
I picked the same when I did my lineup for the Newcastle podcast I was on. So I picked the same. I just had Diaby in behind Watkins and McGinn out on that out wide and Tielemans kind of wide but tucked in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So just a slight change, but I had the same personnel as that, and I thought Cash maybe just for the pace. And obviously, he might want to get his own back on Harvey Barnes. I would be slightly concerned with the Pau Torres, but I don't think we could go with it. Actually, I think I might have had. No, I had Pau Torres, but I thought maybe he would go conventional fullbacks just for that game. That's my only thought. Maybe he goes Buendia and Cash.
So you're dropping Konza?
No, not playing Torres.
Oh, not playing Torres, yeah.
Play Buendia as left back, Cash as right back. And conventional fullbacks.
And I think when we're picking these teams as well, we're not sat doing what Emery's doing. Probably predicting what he thinks the likely opposition he's facing. Yeah. Because if Harvey Barnes plays, and will Harvey Barnes start? I don't know if he'll start the game. So there's a different threat, isn't there? If you've got someone of his pace down the side. And if he's up against Torres, then it might be a different outcome. There was some shakiness from Torres, but we have to trust the transfer fee, the pedigree that he's got. And quality on the ball as well.
They're gonna come at us and put pressure on us, and we need players who are calm on the ball to pick passes. So that's something that we need to kind of bear in mind. Loads of comments come in. Really random said, "Oops, I didn't like. I always do it automatically here," and he's done it now. So. Thank you, mate. But everyone else, if you haven't done it yet, please do. Dunk says McGinn at left wing. Gary said that's pretty good, Kev. And Stephen said you're spot on as well. And Duncan's got Diaby right wing or false 9. Random says pre-match conference was asking about Emmy and time wasting. He got 7 cards last season for it, but it won't work anymore. No more Emmy trolls. They can't put people off on pens either. Terrible decision. Yeah. Hey, Deontay's in the house. It's good to be back. Hope everyone's doing well. Excited for big things from Villa this season. We've missed you, mate. Thank you for jumping back on. Great to have you on board. Luke says Martinez, Cash, Konza, Mings, Buendia, Kamara, Tielemans, McGinn in the 10, and Diaby, Bailey, and Watkins.
Bailey!
That's attacking. I think we probably do Bailey second half. I can't see him starting.
Yeah.
I just can't. Geordie says, when you look at the team, it's not really any wonder whether the pundits think we're nailed on for some sort of success this season. That's very confident. That's great confidence. Deco said Coutinho instead of Bailey and then switch the wingers. Again, I think Coutinho might be used from the bench. I just don't know if he'd start him, particularly the way that I'm sure Newcastle are going to come out at us. I just can see it now.
Yeah, they will. They will. First game at home. Yeah. 5:30 kickoff. They're going to be bang up for it, Newcastle. Bang up for
it. Absolutely. Roderick says, strong side, but it was bound to be. Even with all the injuries, we one hell of a side. Random said, this is a strong team now, regardless of rotation. I'm buzzing. And Pete from the Loaded Mags jumped on and supported us, showing love for a brilliant Villa podcast. 2 brilliant lads. Click like and subscribe, people.
Cheers, Pete.
Thank you very much, mate. And it was a pleasure to be on your podcast earlier. Dunk said, Pow is our best centre-back. You'll be popular with Pete there because he agrees with you. But I just don't think he'll start at centre-back for this game. Too much of a risk. Rachel agrees with me. She doesn't think Coutinho is suited to Newcastle away. Luke said, I'd love Power to play at centre-back and Carlos right-back, but without Moreno, he needs either Cash or Dini to attack. I think Cash has been great in pre-season now.
Mm-hmm. He's been good.
I think he's been great. Best of luck for the season, fellas. Fight the fight to break the top 6 together. Hopefully 0 points on Saturday, though. I wouldn't expect anything less, mate.
Yeah.
Sharik said Torres will get roasted in the game against Newcastle. Hope it doesn't start. Rather see Dini start as a normal left back. Well, like I said, that's the one bit for me. But like I said, we've got to trust Emery. Diaby over Bailey for random. Rub said Bailey's speed might be useful versus Newcastle's defence. They're not the fastest. I think Diaby's speed will definitely be good. Barnes will really test Torres, I think, so we will need help. But does Barnes not play on the left and cut in?
Yeah, he does usually, doesn't he? But I don't know I think he can mix it up, can't he?
Yeah. Any Villa players that who do you think is going to be key for us then? Like with regards to the Villa starting lineup, who are you expecting to be really kind of a key player for us on Saturday?
Well, it's a good question. I really think it's the midfield battle, mate. I think it's the midfield battle. I think the midfield controls the game. So if it is that Tielemans gets the nod, first proper start, Premier League start, then he's got a chance to really make a name for himself properly for Villa fans. It's all well and good, threading some wonderful through balls through in a pre-season game against teams that maybe aren't giving everything. But if he can have some impact in a game like this, and look, I think that Luiz, Kamara, if it's Tielemans, McGinn, that midfield area will be everything. Clearly, they've got some attacking threats, and I absolutely how Torres deals with that if he plays, how any of the fullbacks deal with it if you've got Barnes and Almiron bombing down at you. And of course, it's taking your chances. So can Watkins get the season off to a good start? Can he get himself maybe bag a brace to start the season off against Newcastle?
Yeah. Loads of people saying like Diaby, Torres, Tielemans, Luiz, Ollie Watkins, says Ahmed. One interesting from Geordie Villan says Konsa has to have a perfect game covering the runs in behind whilst Mings is leading the high line. They'll be trying very hard to exploit that, and Mings will be tied up with Wilson or I guess Isak quite a lot. And that is one thing we're going to have to watch. Like if we do play that high line, Newcastle will try and exploit that as they did in the pre-season friendly. Yeah,
absolutely. We've been brilliant at playing it though, but there are times when obviously it does fail occasionally. You just don't want it to fail 3 minutes into a game. You don't want you don't want Sven Botman to ping a diagonal over the top. All of a sudden, we've got the line a bit wrong. Pau doesn't understand Kashi's dulcet tones, and but Konza, look, I absolutely agree. Konza's been absolutely immense, hasn't he? I think a lot of people thought before the season started, before pre-season, that Konza might be the one that was disposable, but I think he's made himself undroppable.
Yeah, definitely. Come to a few questions that we've starred, and then we'll come to the predictions just to finish up. So, did want to touch on the Conference League because Hibs have won 3-1 tonight. Kev, I don't know if you watched it.
Didn't watch it. I heard Bluno's played for him and scored, apparently.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And their second leg is next week. So obviously the away goals don't count in Europe. So they'll count themselves kind of very lucky.
Hey,
they'll
Richard, they've got to go to Luzerne. They've got to go to Luzerne on a Thursday night.
I tell you,
I would love it. I would love it if they got a result.
But yeah, I mean, I joked last week. I said it's got to be Hibs. It's got to be Hibs, and it is pretty much looking like it is going to be them. But you know, we've got to go. If we play them, we've got to go and say we'd be huge favourites, and you wouldn't have asked for anyone else, I suppose, would you? There were some tough teams that we could have faced in that draw.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not really a European tour, is it? You know, popping up.
No, I know. Yeah. It's fine. It's good for me.
Yeah, well, it's good for you. It's also good for the players. They won't be too exhausted.
That's true. That's true.
If you get like Derry City in the next round or something, so I don't know who's in it. Yeah, it's looking like Hibs, isn't it? And it'd be great for John McGinn. You know, clearly the club he started at, so that'd be a bit of sentimentality there. But I'm sure he won't be too kind to when he's playing against them. And it should be a game either of these teams. We should win comfortably. I don't want to get too carried away, but really, team of our quality now should be easy to get in through a two-legged encounter as well. And then it's on to the group stages. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a bit of talk on Joao Felix now. Like I said, we've covered him quite a bit. But Tom Colomassi did say that he was one to watch towards the end of the window. And now, obviously, with this Zaniolo maybe coming in, do you think that Felix is still an option for Monchi and for Emery to look at?
Well, there was a tweet tonight that Fabrizio Romano put out there saying Unai confirms exclusive story on Zaniolo. He is one on the list, and there are others. There could be one or more with the potential to come here. Right now, it's not 100% clear who they are. So I do think there is more in the offing, and I think whether it's Felix, whether it's Ferran Torres, you know, I think maybe the season will start.
Vlahovic, I know Duncan loves him, but I covered him in my news story because I did see some rumours on Vlahovic. I would absolutely love him.
Oh, I would absolutely love him as well. Yeah, but yeah, I still feel like he's more likely to go. I mean, Nkunku's out for quite a bit of time. I feel he's more likely to go to a Chelsea. But then I think if he'd been available for sale, surely Man United would have got him. Surely Spurs, if Kane goes, would be going in for him. But then you've got to look at it now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but would you want to go to Spurs? You know, they've lost Kane. So do you think, you know, I mean...
Is he going, though? Because this is the next question. If Kane goes to Bayern, are they going to come in for Ollie Watkins? Which was my theory, I have to say, about 3 weeks ago.
Well, let's talk about it briefly. So I was obviously giving Kane some grief on our WhatsApp group earlier, calling him, you know, an absolute loser and lacking ambition because there was all the rumours coming out that he was going to stay. And it was like, you know, it felt if that was going to happen, like he's basically been teasing Bayern Munich all summer. They wouldn't have put in 3 bids if they didn't think there was a chance. They must have been getting noises from Kane's camp. They've agreed a fee, and all of a sudden there was reports coming out today saying Kane's leaning towards staying. I've seen later on tonight, and whilst we've been on the pod, there's been rumours saying actually now it's looking like he's going to go. If he does go, I'd be amazed if Watkins went there. I'd be amazed. They're not in Europe. Kane is their best player by a country mile. Paul Merson said the other day on Sky, if they lost Kane, he thinks they finish in the bottom half. And I don't. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, he said they finished 8th last year and he scored 30 goals. So, like, you know, Brentford are a good team. You know, they finished, are they 9th, Brentford?
9th or 10th, yeah.
Brighton are a good team. There's no guarantee that Caicedo's going to leave. And even if he does, they're bringing in players that no one's ever heard of that are unbelievable. You know, they've had, like, obviously that Estupinan's come in. They've obviously had that lad who's been scoring Enciso. So, Brighton, I still think are thereabouts. You've got Newcastle, you've got the mighty Aston Villa, you've got the Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool. I think Spurs, that if there's ever been a one-man team in this league, particularly with Son's form last year, it's Tottenham Hotspur. If they lose Spurs, I'd be amazed if Kane went. But my point I was half made earlier was, would Vlahovic want to go to a Spurs? I'm not saying he want to come to a Villa. I think the level he's at, surely he's a Champions League player.
Yeah, well... Yeah, he's huge for them, and I just think if they lose him now, it's such a difficult situation for them to get another striker in. Like you're talking what, 2.5 weeks of the transfer window left.
Yeah, we've talked about how difficult it is to get a striker.
Yeah.
They're going to have a lot of money, but who's going to want to go there to a team that finished 8th in the Premier League that's lost their best player? I mean, I'm not saying clearly they'll buy someone, but does Levy want to spend that kind of money? Does he want to spend all the money he's got for Kane on another striker? I don't know. I don't know. It's funny how it works. They've got some good players, Spurs. They've got some decent players. I don't know how good this new centre half is they've bought, and obviously, Son, if he can get back to sort of previous seasons' form, has been absolutely quality in the league. I think Kulusevski's good, but I don't think they're all that. And I think without Kane, I'd fancy us to beat him home and away. I really would. I really would. I mean, I wouldn't have any concerns. We beat him pretty comfortably last season, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We did, absolutely. John saying Kane is staying. Geordie said, I guess some of it will depend how well Spurs spend, like with the Bayern money. Spurs bottom 8 next year, says Duncan. Luke said, I'll take Felix as hostage. To be fair, if we're the only bid, he was classed for Chelsea. One of their only threats last season was banned for 3 games. Deco said, without Harry Kane, West Ham finish above Spurs in 17th. Let's all laugh at Tottenham, says Aradeka. Really random said, I think Levy has Kane's DNA hostage or something. That Darren Farley's skits are probably accurate. Roderick said Kane won't go. He will wait now, then take
if
loads.
He doesn't go, I'd be absolutely staggered. He's been flirting with them all night. He's gone back to theirs, and he said, I'm not up for it. And he can do what he wants, and of course he can. And he clearly, he's got a lot of love for Spurs. And
he'll have a pick of clubs next season, though, won't he? That's the thing.
But who knows?
I think it's Levy who wants to get rid of him, for the money, because otherwise he's got nothing. But then you do say they've got no chance of getting any type of European football without Kane. So it's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is, but go to Bayern Munich are a huge club, multiple times Champions League. When I go and win the German league, have a crack at the Champions League. I mean, look, listen, it sounds like I'm more bothered about it than I probably should be, but I know. Look, he's going to have a season. They're going to finish somewhere between 7th and 15th in the league for Spurs, and he's going to regret his decision by November. So just go and score some goals, Harry, and also we can Spurs if you go. So I hope he does.
But you don't. Just to confirm, you don't think that Watkins will go?
If it was Arsenal, who he supports, or if it was a top 4 team, the level he's at now, I don't see. I mean, would it be a money thing? Well, we'd give him a contract for the money. It's not a London boy. He's from the southwest, isn't he? So I don't know. I don't see. If it had been 2 years ago when they were top 4, I get it. And we're 9th and they're 4th. I get it. We finished ahead of them last season. Why would he go Spurs? When they're not getting
it's the London thing. It's the wages they can pay. They're still a bigger club than us, in terms of that. We've had one season where we finished above them, but they're still a pull, mate. We've got the Villa kind of shades on, but they are still, a big pull. And that's the thing. That's the thing.
They're a big, but we're a big pull now as well. I know traditionally.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I don't think Watkins goes purely on the basis that I think it would take so long for the deal to go through. Unless we got offered something ridiculous in terms of fee, I don't think we would sell just to kind of, I just don't think we would.
Well, also, if Watkins went, then who do we replace him with? Because
exactly.
Off to Sheffield United. So what are you going to just play John Duran or put get Philip Senderos back, stick him up top? It's unless who knows? Unless Vlahovic says, I'm only coming if I'm playing first choice. I love you, Unai, and maybe maybe we upgrade Watkins. Who knows? I don't know. I'd just be absolutely staggered if he went to Spurs. Personally.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go into some great questions, guys. I do love getting to your comments. Do love getting into the questions as well. But we just need to circle back to what we're talking about, the big kickoff on Saturday, Newcastle United versus Aston Villa. I want you all to get your predictions in. I'll read them all out before I come to you, Kev. One last little plug, though. Over 2,250 subscribers already. on the road to 3K. Please, guys, hit that like button. 87 people watching at 11:15 at night, Kev. I mean, that is just phenomenal. Hit that subscribe button as well if you're new to the channel.
We've only got 41 likes. So
only 41 likes. Come on. There's more than double the people watching. So all you need to do is just hit that like button, please.
I'm going to say it really helps other people find our channel. Really helps people. The more likes we get, the more subscriptions you get. It really helps people find us. So appreciate the support as always, if you could.
Brilliant. Well, already scores coming in. Gazza's saying 2-2. Aston Villa Bozzy is also agreeing. Desmond 2-2. Radeka Football saying 1-1. Duncan is positive. 3-1 Villa to win. Rachel says 1-1. Really Random says 3-1 Villa. Insane performance to start the season. Stephen Van Leer says 2-2 as well. 50 likes here. Easy, folks. Great stuff. Let's keep going. Gary says just don't know. Could be anything. Roderick says 2-1 Villa. Dale says 2-1 Villa. Watkins and Diaby. Geordie Villan says 2-0 Villa. We score on the counter 4 minutes in. Score again halfway through the second half and then lose players to injury. No, don't say that. But I love the detail, mate. Great detail. Deco says 3-2 is my gut feeling. Villa win for the Sticklers. Fantastic. Martin Nicholas, 2-1 Villa. John Watkins won't go to Spurs. If he does, we'll buy 2 strikers. Well, we've got to get a move on. Donovan Alves says 3-0 up the Villa. Joe says, can we get a shout out up the Villa? Absolutely, mate. There you go.
Shout out, Joe.
Braden says 1-1 up the Villa. John says Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 3. Luke says 3-1 Villa until 109 minutes and then 3-3.
Oh, God, mate, yeah, I know.
Please don't say that.
That's going to be agonising this season. If you're winning a game this season, you're going to hate it. Oh, nearly 90 minutes.
I know.
15 minutes added time.
Deontay at the moment, Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 2. Right, Kev, what are you going for, mate?
I'm going to go for Newcastle United 1, Aston Villa 2. So I think a 2-1. I think Newcastle are likely to score at home. But I fancy us to nick it. So I'm going 2-1 Villa. What do you reckon, Rich?
Fantastic. I'm sitting on the fence here and I'm saying 2-2. I think it'd be a high scoring draw. I think we'll probably go 2-1 up as well, but I do think they'll get a goal. And I think we'll share the spoils. I think it'll be a game where both teams will give it a real go, but ultimately I don't think that either team will want to lose in that sense. So yeah, because it's so much on this game. It's so early, but there's so much on this game, isn't there?
Well, we're second in the league, mate. We've got to stay there.
Yeah, we've got to. That's it. Exactly.
Holiday. It's a really surprising top 4 actually, with Bournemouth and Brentford making it up as well. But we'll see what happens after the first game. Yeah,
Dale says it'll be 0-0 now. Yeah, fantastic. Well, yeah. Who did you say who was going to score? I didn't say who was going to score. I'm going to say Watkins and McGinn.
Okay, I'm going to say Watkins and Watkins.
Ooh, 2 from Watkins. He doesn't like getting double figures in not double figures.
Well, he did like against Newcastle last season.
2 goals in a game. He did. Yeah. He did actually. He did.
And then he'll wave to the fans before he leaves for White Hart Lane. Well, it's not called White Hart Lane anymore. What's it called? The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He'll wave to the fans before he leaves.
Yeah.
2 goals.
Steven says, sounds like we should all get down the bookies. 2-2. Sharik said, if you're saying 2-2, you really mean you think we'll lose, but don't want to say it.
Love it.
Look, we don't win at St James's Park. I am more confident than I have been in a long time. So to be that confident, I'm saying that we're going to draw.
He's never managed us at St James's Park. He loves slaying, gets his Grim Reaper scythe out and slaying all these curses, doesn't he? So he'll be watching tonight because he's a big fan. And he'll be hearing you saying we don't win at St James's Park, and it'll be giving him the motivation. It'll be galvanising the troops tomorrow. Well,
there you go. Amazing positivity, Kev. that's it for tonight. I think we've kept you up late enough, guys. So thank you very, very much for watching. We're nearly at 100 viewers, which is just absolutely crazy. So thank you so much for the support. Like I said before, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on your way out. Thank you very, very much for your support. Football is back. Make sure you join our Fantasy Premier League. The link is pinned at the top, and in the chat is the league code as well. But if you go to our Twitter page, it's also on there. All the details are on there. You can potentially win 75 quid worth of Villa gear. Obviously, the winner at the end of the season gets that voucher to spend on Villa gear of their choice. So yeah, get yourself into it. Kev, we'll be back for a match reaction. I might even do a little bite-sized preview as well. And we'll keep you up to date with any Villa news coming up over the next few days.
I was going to say, mate, there might be transfer news, so keep your eyes out, folks, because there might be some incomings out. I mean, Archer is big rumour he might go to Sheffield United, which might be a bit of a sadness for a few of us. But I think there might be a couple of ins in.
I'm sure there will be.
Keep your eyes peeled.
I'm sure there will be. Keep your eyes peeled, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Have a great night, and as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Up and running and